Thank you.
Thanks, Victoria.
It's really nice to be talking to you guys. I'm going to be talking about a lawsuit that I'm currently on, a federal lawsuit against the U.S. government. So, my name is Victoria, like he just said. I'm 17 years old. I'm an Honduran American with roots in the Garifuna indigenous culture and a fellow with the Alliance for Climate Education. So currently I'm a plaintiff on a lawsuit holding the US federal government accountable for climate destruction by promoting the development and use of fossil fuels. So legal experts right now are calling this the case of the century. 21 young people, including myself, are suing the US federal government for failure to protect our future from climate change and violating our constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property. In the most recent turn of events on November 10th, federal judge Ann Aiken ruled that our case can proceed to trial in our suit against the federal government and the Obama administration. In other words, Judge Ann Aiken denied the federal government and their co-defendants, the fossil fuel companies' motions to dismiss the case. Just to clarify, the federal government and fossil fuel companies are co-defendants on this case. The fossil fuel companies voluntarily joined as co-defendants, which is unprecedented. Our lawsuit alleges that the government has known about climate change for decades, but hasn't adequately addressed it, denying our right to a stable climate. Young people are quickly working to ask President Obama to come to the table in this landmark climate lawsuit before President-elect Trump takes over. Until January 20th, 2017, legal experts are saying that this court case presents a real chance for President Obama to take irreversible action on climate before he leaves office. Our petition to President Obama has been launched and already has more than 60,000 supporters. It asks President Obama to take immediate action to intervene in the case before he leaves office and invite young people to the table to reach a settlement with him. The Washington Post recently shared our petition in a feature piece. Because this is a law expo, I'm going to tell you some of the things that legal experts have been saying. Mary Wood, a professor at the University of Oregon School of Law, says that this was the threshold that was so crucial because it is at this point that the judge declares the rights of the youth. This declaration could not have been more grounded in the Constitution and public trust law. This is a huge victory for the youth, and it sets up the sidewalls for the case moving forward. She continues, were the Obama administration to offer a settlement and the young plaintiffs accepted it, the judicial system would then be responsible for ensuring that the Trump White House put the terms of that settlement into effect. This is Obama's last chance to make climate progress before the Trump administration unravels everything that he's done. Jeffrey Sachs is the director of Columbia University's Earth Institute. He says it is quite clear that the incoming administration is going to bring in a lot of the most irresponsible forces in the world to try to have one last fling at their greed. Settle this lawsuit, bring judiciary into oversight as a fundamental duty. It's the last opportunity for the Obama administration to get this right. And if they continue to challenge this suit in their last days, shame on them. Julia Olson, the lead lawyer for the plaintiffs, says that the federal government could propose curtailing or shutting down fossil fuel extraction in the United States. Such a settlement would result in a court order that the Trump administration would then have to abide by. It could attempt to overturn the order, but that could take years. So the last thing that me and one of my co-plaintiffs, Shute Scott Martinez, worked on was a video petitioning Barack Obama to settle our lawsuit. So I'm going to show you the video.
Thank you, Victoria. So very emotional, very impressive. Young people are getting out there, taking this issue into their own hands, and they're lobbying it right there towards their president. They're using the legal system. This is an example of really using the law to bring about change. I'd like to open it up for some questions. Do we have any questions in the audience? Not right now. Well, there's one over there. Otherwise, I've got a few of my own.
Thank you very much for the cause. This might sound too technical, but I would just like to ask, is there any direct damage that you guys, 21 of you guys, sustained? And also, what remedy are you guys seeking? I mean, this might clarify for those of people who just wanted to pursue the same cause in a different jurisdiction?
So each of the 21 plaintiffs is in the complaint and has a personal injury against them due to the results of climate change. For example, one of the plaintiffs lives in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and her complaint is that one day she woke up and stepped into climate change when she woke out of her bed and there was a foot of water in her home. So that's one of the examples. Another example is a 9-year-old plaintiff that lives in Florida, in islands off the coast that are being decimated due to sea level rise. Another plaintiff lives in Alaska, and so he discusses sea level rise and how it's affecting a lot of his friends and a lot of his family that live on the islands off of Alaska. And then the remedy would be that the U.S. government, should the court agree with us, the U.S. government would have to would be forced to come up with a plan that would remedy climate change enough to preserve our future.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions from the audience? So, okay, Natalia. One from you.
Hi, my name is Natalia, and I was wondering, where do you guys get your guidance to do this effort, and how long it's been, and what is your next steps?
Well, we have a group of great lawyers who have really represented our voices and defended us well in the courts. And we have an organization, Our Children's Trust, who the lawyers work for and who our director of communications works for to make sure that our message is getting across and to make sure that we're being protected as much as possible in this whole endeavor.
And I just want to have a follow-up on that. What inspiration did you, young plaintiffs, get from other legal actions that are taking place around the world? Have you connected with some of the other, legal suits that other countries and other youth organizations are putting forward?
Yeah, we've definitely been paying attention to a lot of the amazing legal actions that are happening across the world. When the case went through in the Netherlands, we looked to that a lot, and we saw that as an example, and it really got us all excited about the future of our case. There's cases happening all over the world, especially with the support of Our Children's Trust, cases in Pakistan, in a lot of countries that youth are saying, well, we want to hold our governments accountable for what's happening in terms of climate.
Right. Was there a question here? Okay, and then one more question. So we're at a crucial time. We've seen the Paris Agreement. There's huge momentum. We've seen COP22, where the action and the country action plans were being discussed and presented. What are your hopes for countries going forward? How do you envision more climate solutions being implemented, and what is the role of young people in that?
I think that I'm hoping, what I hope for the most is that countries recognize that all the decisions they make when it pertains to climate change don't just affect the people living within their borders, but climate change is a global issue that's being perpetuated mostly by developed nations. And I hope that in their decision-making processes, they're realizing that it's not just the people who are here sitting in this room. Like, for example, in the United States, it's not just the people in this room, and not just the people in this country being affected by the results of our emissions and being affected by climate change. It's people in the most vulnerable stages. And I think that instead of thinking within the box of our own borders, we should be thinking more roundedly and more all globally and like more globalized way, in the way that my generation is becoming used to thinking. And I think that the current generation that's making decisions needs to become more acclimated with thinking that way also.
Absolutely. We've got one more question in the back. Natalia, do you still have the microphone?
Hello. Hi, Ayman Sharkari from the COP22 presidency team. As you might know, the presidency of Morocco for COP22 started actually in November. And next year, therefore, we're going to have the presidency. And I was curious about if you had any area where you would like to see the presidency of COP focus its work, and if you had any advice as a youth representative as to what should be the focus of presidency next year. Thank you.
I think that something that I saw lacking in when I attended COP21 in Paris, and that what I would like to see perpetuated throughout the process of COPs going on is that more emphasis on human rights and the idea that climate change is a human issue and it's a social issue and it doesn't need to be always boiled down to science and economics. I think it could have just as much of an impact if you focus on the humanity that goes into it.
Absolutely. I just want to congratulate you, Victoria, Paola, Brian, and all your other plaintiffs. Phenomenal work. And we look forward to seeing you take this cause further. A round of applause for Victoria. Thank you very much.